of my own. It is, what is the dream of every citizen in this country? What is the dream? What's the wish? Every morning, each one of you wake up, and your needs are basic needs as a citizen. You want to get up in the morning and turn on the taps to make your coffee, to have a shower, to brush your teeth, but you want water in the taps. You don't want to have to go in a barrel or a tank in the back of your house. You want water in the taps. That's a basic need. You want, when you make breakfast, and you are ready to go to work, you are ready to take your kids to school, you want to have a car to take them to school. You want to be able to afford to have a reasonable vehicle in your home that can take your wife and your children to work and to school. You also want to take your children to a school where you have no bullet flying in front there in school. You want to have a place where you can leave your children safely to get a good education, and you have to worry about them and teachers and children ducking on the table to avoid bullets. That's what you want. That's basic things that you want. And when you drop them to school and you have the car that you work so hard for in a decent, well-paying job, you want to drive on a road without pothole, without landslip, without bridges that are collapsing. That's a basic need. That's something basic that you want as a citizen in this country. You also want, when the rainy season kicks in, that you can drive on roads that are not flooded, that your drainage systems work, that your rivers are desilted and widened in time for when the rainy season comes. Because for the last 100 years, we know when the rainy season comes. We don't have to get no notification beforehand. We know when it starts. So that's a basic thing that every citizen wants. And when you pick up your child in the evening from school, you want to come back home safely. You want to see police patrols. You want to see an unlocking of the traffic. You want to not have any gridlock, that you don't spend 5 hours in the traffic. You want a country where we use modern systems, ITC, where you can work from home, where we can reduce. Why do we have 100,000 people going to work in Port of Spain? We learned nothing from the COVID, where we put people to work at home. That is what you want, something basic. And when you reach home in the evening, you want to have power in your home, you want to be able to make dinner, you want to be able to do the homework with your children, and most importantly, I don't know how many of you have to leave Mayaro and Claro to go to Port of Spain or San Fernando to work. But it takes you today, it takes you 3 hours to San Fernando now. It takes you about 4 hours and a half to Port of Spain. So you ain't coming back home in time to have a social life with your spouse. You have to put your children in the hands of nannies. You may have to put them in the hands of young women who never made a child themselves, and you have to have them growing up your child. And then we ask, why are we having this breakdown in family life, juvenile delinquency? So ladies and gentlemen, that is the elusive dream that we ask for. Beyond the basic starvation of funding to the regional corporation here in Mayaro, let me just add on a couple lines of facts for you. The United National Congress is in charge of 7 municipalities in this country. But if you look at the map, for those of you who are familiar with the map, and you see the coverage of where the responsibilities for regional corporations lie, we account for 80% of the land mass in this country. 80%. Think about that for a second. Our 7 municipalities covers 80% of the land mass, whereas the 7 that is in control of the government covers 20% of the land mass. But would you believe that 41% of the allocation for infrastructure, roads and bridges, goes to the UNC corporations? We are responsible for 80% of the land mass, more roads, more bridges, or landslip. But we get 41% for roads. roads. For drainage, flood alleviation, we get 46% of the allocation. But how much of this landmass we are in charge of? 80%. Now if that isn't startling, and then we come under fire, your chairman, your MP, your councillors, we come under fire every single day for delivery. But as I say, money doesn't fall from a tree or the sky. The government of the day has to get the money, has to allocate it, has to send to the regional corporations. We have to change the budget that will be read on Monday. Has to address all of those things I now spoke about. If the budget that is going to be read on Monday doesn't address what I spoke about this evening, then we will be no better off. We will not be better off at all. This is what I feel that the budget must address on. And you can agree or disagree when you have your turn to speak. Very, very quickly. Our trade and investment climate must improve. And when that improves, we put crime under control. We have to see some infrastructure improvement. We have to see our improvement with our utilities, especially that of water. Because you would have seen the UNC championing the cause for water. For the last few months, we had all our chairmen assemble and bring it to the forum. And you still have the minister has the gall to tell the media when they ask him about it after we had some protest action in Union. He says, well, WASA needs to explain themselves. So he has disconnected himself. The head of public utilities in this country has disconnected himself. Just as how this government has disconnected themselves from the people already. He disconnected himself from that. We need to deal with the massive issue of unemployment. It is radically growing every day, and as MP, I'm sure MP Khadija Amin will agree with me, every single day you have more single mothers, fathers coming to knock on your door for basic help. Food. One of the most painful things that as an MP that I have witnessed is grown men crying in my office that they can't feed their family. But grown men, and it is dehumanizing. We need to address unemployment. The issue of job creation. We'll deal with the NIS shortfall. Many of you would have seen or heard that we have had a NIS report that came out last year that shows us $1.5 billion in deficit. All right, that is going to put a stranglehold on the state's ability to pay pensions and so on. So we must address those things. We need to find out how we're going to manage 100,000 Venezuelans in this country. They are here to stay. They ain't going anywhere. We may as well put them into productive capacity. But we can't do that vibe and willy-nilly. We have to find a creative way and put them in sectors that are productive. So the budget must address that as well. We must find a way to put our UTT graduates or university graduates in proper working conditions as soon as they graduate. We cannot afford to have graduates leave school and come home and sit down and do nothing. And when they watch across the road, the neighbor's son driving a BMW, he had 4 gold chain ring, he had 2 gold teeth and pants under his bottom. But he moving with a BMW. I now spent 5 years in school. I get a degree. My father's slave to pay for that. And I had to sit down home and do nothing. That is the reality of the life that we are living today in this country. And when your young child who has graduated has to stay home, nothing can be more frustrating. So the budget on Monday must address that. We must be able to create an environment via a budgeting policy direction that could create decent, well-paying jobs for our children, that they can earn to buy a decent home and to raise a family. And I think that is a dream for every single young man and woman. And we must articulate that, and the UNC is prepared to do that. Our policies on both times when we were in government, in the Pandya administration, in the Kamla Prasad Bisesa administration, we addressed those issues. The PNM has not done that. The budget on Monday must address some of those things. And by doing that, we become a nation of home owners. Become a nation of land owners, not renters. Only when we could become a nation of home owners and land owners do we lift the citizenry. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I have put enough ideas in your head. So when you listen Minister Imbert on Monday, when he speaks for 3 hours and 21 minutes, that's as much as I'm going to give him on Monday. I want you to reflect on everything he says and ask yourself, is Minister Imbert addressing these concerns? And if he's not addressing those concerns, then the budget will not work for you.